everybody, this is Rich Chisholm, and this is the Smash Mouth and Smoke Show. First of all, I want to thank you guys for checking out the video. I always appreciate it. Appreciate getting your likes. We actually got a few new subscribers, so to you new folks that subscribed, I want to thank you for subscribing to the channel. Hopefully you guys hang out for a bit. A couple of things, a little house cleaning thing real quick. I would like very much to get to live streaming. I am trying to get there. I have some challenges that have kind of gotten in the way with that. Largely it's technology, I should say, challenges, and more specifically, my laptop is subpar. And I like to do this with more than just a mobile phone. That said, I'm working on that. We'll get that addressed and get around to that. Moving forward though, my last commentary regarding the Steelers quarterback rumor mill being in full swing, particularly as we march through this off season and begin to head on towards free agency. There was a question asked to me in the chat by Mr. Calvin Brooks, and I did initially begin to respond to that question in the comment section where he posted it, but thought, I'd respond to the question on video. And the question that Calvin asked was, what are the Steelers going for in free agency? And so that'll be the frame of this conversation here. That's a good question, Calvin. And the short, easy answer is no clue. The fact of the matter is this is a new coaching regime. Prior to this coaching regime, Mike Tomlin's voice was all powerful as it pertains to these player acquisitions and things of that nature. I suspect that the personnel department, Andy Weidel, Omar Khan, that their voices will be a little louder this time. Not to suggest that Mike McCarthy's voice won't have any weight, but I doubt it's going to be as domineering as, say, Tomlin's was, or at least at this stage of the game. So it'll be interesting, excuse me, to see how they approach that. Pardon me. So, but let's kind of take a look at things and get some ideas as to what they may be thinking about, right? I mean, we've talked about quarterback to death, and we already know that you got Malik Willis out there as a very nice looking option. As far as just a straight free agent signing, as we all know, as part of free agency, particularly in the early portions, trades become a big part of free agency, if you will. And so when you combine that in there, then you're also looking at other quarterback prospects, the Kyler Murrays, the Mac Joneses, the Anthony Richardsons, and things of that nature. And, certainly Pittsburgh can make a play for any of those guys. I think a lot of it obviously depends on the decision-making of Aaron Rodgers, and whether, I guess, how patient Pittsburgh's going to be this offseason, waiting on an Aaron Rodgers decision. As we know, last offseason, they were extremely patient, almost pretty much completely riding on it having to be yes. I don't know if they're going to take that same approach this offseason. And so, that's just a quick touch on that quarterback thing that we talked about for a while. The other, obviously, very big glaring need, though, I would say for Pittsburgh, and also on offense, would be wide receiver. Man, they need wide receivers in the worst way. Outside of DK Metcalf, there's little else in the cupboard. They loaded up on tight ends last year, didn't really use them in the way that it was expected they would be used. And then it appeared Darnell Washington out of Georgia was emerging as the top tight end before he fell victim to a terrible injury. And then all of a sudden, the previously forgotten Pat Freiermuth, who they recently gave a new contract to, reemerged. And so, obviously, from a tight end perspective, I don't expect them to do much. Sorry, that Muth was still in my mouth. To do much. But obviously, at wide receiver, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. I believe that receiver room is going to be completely different outside of DK Metcalf still, remaining present. He may be the only holdover. Of course, Roman Wilson, who, I guess you can consider a bit of a forgotten name in that receiving room, he may play a role in this, right? Roman spent a lot of time in the doghouse with the last coaching regime. And for whatever reason, he just seemed to not click well, be it with either Tomlin or Arthur Smith or both. And but certainly coming into the draft cycle when he came out a couple of years ago, he was highly regarded. He was a third-round pick by the Steelers. At the time, the number one receiver in Michigan, playing with J.J. McCarthy. And, the guy, he was a highly regarded guy. And so, it would not surprise me if the Steelers spent a lot of attention on wide receiver this offseason in some combination of both draft and free agency. And I wouldn't be surprised to see as many as 3 new receivers coming into the receiver room with the plan for them to play significant roles in the offense going into next season. So I would say one of my short answers to that question, Calvin, would be I would expect Pittsburgh to really do their homework in free agency when it comes to wide receiver. As I also expect some combination of that group to be added to via both free agency and the draft. I expect it to be intended significant players. They have to do something about the fact that DK Metcalf is the only perceived threat on the offense when it comes to downfield passing, and teams just load up on making sure he doesn't have a big game and no one else is capable of making them pay for making that decision. So I would probably start there, but certainly it's not the only thing, right? And it's not even the only thing on offense. You got to look at from an offensive line perspective. Look at the elephant in the room there, which is Broderick Jones, out of Georgia. Broderick Jones was a highly touted draft pick. The Steelers even moved up in the first round to get him, which is something they rarely do. But they did it, and a lot of people feel like he hasn't panned out. There are some that would even refer to him as a bust. I personally would refer to him as a bust, but the term has been thrown around as it pertains to him. And to some degree I can understand it. I mean, the guy is just outside of being a top 10 pick, and he has not played at the expected level, I guess you could say. That said, though, he was a really young guy, right? And I think maybe with 1 year of starting experience at Georgia before getting into the first round, if I have that right, he is certainly better than the guy he replaced ultimately, who was Dan Moore. I believe that Broderick's development issues are the fault of the previous coaching staff. When we drafted Broderick, we had a glaring need at left tackle because Dan Moore was terrible at it. The Steelers drafted Broderick Jones, moved up to pick him in a draft. It was a highly celebrated move. Everybody thought it was great. Then came the season, and the Steelers promptly moved him from left tackle to right tackle. Now, to people out there who are kind of more casual football fans, you might not understand the importance of that. But right tackles and left tackles play two entirely different techniques. And in addition to that, depending on the quarterback, which most are right-handed, they face an entirely different level of pass rusher. And so consequently, Broderick Jones was largely out of position. Not just his rookie season, but curiously his first two seasons. He wasn't put to left tackle till this past season where he had to reacclimate. So I think that, maybe he should have a little grace there because he certainly wasn't awful in my opinion. But, there were some growing pains for him there. I still think he's an ascending player. I think that now that they have him as the left tackle, entrenched as the left tackle, let's leave him there and see if he has big growth. He certainly has all the tools and talent in the world. So I would be personally for letting the guy get a run, after having done this for a full season and re-acclimating to that spot and seeing what this kid can put out next season before I push the panic button on him. And then of course there is even guard. There are some questions as to whether or not they're going to bring back Siamalo. That may even play a role, right? And then of course we have some questions in the running back room. We don't know. It doesn't seem likely they're going to bring back Kenneth Gainwell. And if they don't bring back Kenneth Gainwell, that puts Jaylen Warren back at the top of the pecking order in the running back room, at least for now. But certainly a critical draft pick or unexpected free agent signing could alter that. Jaylen Warren went into last season at the top of that pecking order, but then Kenneth Gainwell, man, he exceeded all expectations at that position. And it's a little surprising to me they don't seem to really have much interest in bringing him back. But like I said, new regime. So they probably have another idea of what the running back room needs to look like for them, and we'll see that take shape. And so offensively, those are just all the kinds of things that the Pittsburgh Steelers could be thinking about as we approach free agency, and we'll see which direction they go. But as much attention as the offense needs, make no mistake, there's a lot of attention needed on the defensive side of the ball as well. For the most part, I believe the defensive line is pretty solid, even though Cameron Hayward is 37 years old. You got to start wondering when he ages out. But, hey, man, the guy made second team All-Pro last year, so he's still playing at a very high level. And so a little hard to, just like trying to kick that guy out the door when he's playing at a level like that. But of course, in the back of your mind, you have to be mindful of his age, right? Because a lot of times with these athletes, they'll just, when they fall off the cliff, it can be sudden, right? It doesn't have to be gradual. You can be All-Pro at 37, and then all of a sudden at 38, you disappear, right? So we'll have to see how that unfolds. But that said, for the most part, I think from a defensive line standpoint, the Steelers are pretty strong. That's not to say they wouldn't add to it. You can't have too many defensive linemen in this league, of course. But they have some nice, talented young guys playing at that position who should continue to grow. And we'll see how they're deployed by the new defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, right? And then you move to the middle of the defense, which are the linebackers. And there are some interesting questions there, right? The group as a whole would seem on paper to be kind of intact, but when you really break it down and take a closer look at it, there are some who think that Patrick Queen, for instance, is overpaid and could be more effective. And, maybe there's an argument to be had for that. I am not necessarily one of those guys. Certainly he's not perfect, but he's not. I feel like he's one of the better inside linebackers in the league. He has speed. He makes tackles. So this is an offensive-driven league. The defense defenses have to overcome a lot these days. But that said, I like Patrick Queen. I don't have any qualms with his return. You got Peyton Wilson, who is his running mate in that inside linebacker core. And Peyton has had some ups and downs last year. You know, he came in with little fanfare, largely due to some injuries that caused him to drop in the draft. But he was always known as a speed guy, a cover guy. But last year, despite his reputation as a strong cover guy, he got kind of exposed in coverage a little bit from time to time. Teams learned how to attack him in the passing game, and it cost him. You know, there were times he got pulled and he kind of got benched a little bit and things of that nature. He always fought his way back. This guy has a high motor. He's a easy self motivator, right? So he's not one of those guys that stay down. He gets up and he works his butt off, and it shows in his play. I do think that his cover skills are better than his run stopping skills, and I believe that's what got him in a little trouble last year when he was struggling for a stretch with some of the coverage assignments. So we'll see, you know, how they deploy him. I think, again, he's still an ascending player, and so I wouldn't be kind of panicking or anything like that at that position. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they add to it one way or the other, free agency on the draft, right? Interestingly, on the middle level for me are the outside linebackers, though. The Steelers have an embarrassment of riches there. They're 4 deep in pass rushers that could be starters on other teams, and that is super rare to have. Super rare. It's a good problem, but it's still a bit of a problem. And for me, the problem is, and yeah, I'm going to say it and piss off some of Steeler Nation probably, but the problem is T.J. Watt. Look, it's been a great run. I love T.J. Watt. Go down on my list as an all-time Steeler. I feel bad that he's never been able to win a playoff game as a Steeler. But it's time, man. And I'm not talking about T.J. Watt's going to go retire or anything like that. But I don't believe T.J. Watt has lost a step, and I just don't believe he's the same guy. But his mystique, his reputation is still strong across the league. And I would take advantage of that. And I would trade T.J. Watt. Because T.J. Watt is in Nick Herbig's way. That's my personal opinion. And Nick Herbig is a guy who I think would be a superstar pass rusher if he was a starter. And I hope the Steelers don't fumble and hold on to old guys and do something like let this young cat get away. Anybody who knows how to research these things, go look at this guy's pass rush win rate and tell me I'm crazy. Right? Nick Herbig, he puts up metrics that suggest he's almost unblockable at times. But he's stuck behind T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. The Steelers' last head coaching regime seemed to start figuring that out last year as they started playing more and more with a 3 outside linebacker set just to get Herbig on the field because how positively he impacted games for the defense. But the real thing you need to do is get T.J. Watt out of his way. All right? If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm looking at that and thinking about how I can leverage one or both even of these outside linebackers, Watt and Highsmith, into extra draft capital, especially with the quarterback class that's coming out in the draft next year, right? Perhaps you can leverage these guys to stack yourself some draft capital so that next year when the stronger quarterback class is coming out, you have some options there, right? So just something I think they should think about because not only has Nick Herbig put up strong metrics, but Jack Sawyer The outside linebacker, the Steelers drafted out of Ohio State. Just this last year's draft, this guy's a rookie. Man, he made the most of his opportunities when he got on the field. That kid balled out, and so you got a couple of young guys that look very, very promising in that defense. And obviously, you don't want to weaken your depth too much. Injuries happen. You weaken your depth and all that. Then if somebody goes down, you're not prepared for it. I get that. I'm not saying they should dismantle the outside linebackers and get rid of multiple guys or anything of that nature. But I'm just saying that they should maybe really consider leveraging either Watt or Highsmith for draft capital, because they have a couple of capable young guys behind them that have shown strong that they are capable of playing this game at a high level, and for cheaper. So I would really be thinking about that if I was them. And then, of course, there's the secondary. And there's a lot of talk there about who's coming back. Jalen Ramsey is a name that keeps coming up as a guy that might not be back. And I think that would be a mistake. That's me personally. I thought Jalen Ramsey played quite well last year, right? He played deep free safety for the Steelers, and he played nickel corner at times for the Steelers for the most part. Those were the two positions he played by far the most. I thought the guy did well at that. And I'm going to tell you what else, too. I love his fire. He brings a fire on the field, man. And, a guy that plays at a high level, has that intensity. I'm all in for that type of stuff. And if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going to bring Jalen Ramsey back. I'm going to tell you what else, too. Asante Samuel's a guy that intrigues me. He's going to be a free agent. I believe he was only on that one single-year deal. When we brought him on board last year, he was a practice squad guy. But you got to remember about Asante Samuel. This guy has a first-round pedigree, right? And in addition to that, he has strong bloodlines, in the NFL. And, he just came back from a catastrophic injury, didn't have training camp or any of those things, He was just, I believe last year he was even rated as the number 4 overall available free agent in free agency last year, and stayed unsigned late into the season until the Steelers signed him onto the practice squad, which was, crazy to me. Well, sometimes you get lucky, and I think that they got lucky, and it would do well for them to think about. Now, obviously, we don't know what kind of money he's asking for, but I can't imagine he's breaking the bank. You're just returning back from a catastrophic injury and experienced a period where apparently no one believed you and wanted you. And the Steelers gave you a shot. And I'm not suggesting he get him a whole hometown discount per se, but at the same time, they can't pay him like, a top 5 corner or anything. But if he has a reasonable contract he'd be willing to take, I'd really consider keeping him if I'm Pittsburgh, because it would be cool to see how he looks with a full offseason, full recovery from injury, full training camp and everything in that defense, and see what that guy looks like. Because you might have your other shutdown corner on the other opposite side of Porter already there, in Asante Samuel. I know based on the player he was prior to injury, it'd be worth me trying to give him that shot and check it out personally. So we'll see what they do there. I would be prone more to keep him than go chasing anybody in free agency. At any rate, so those are just some of the things to consider as the Steelers turn the page in the free agency. As we know, the combine is this week. I believe the players are arrived either today. If not, I believe they arrived today, but if not tomorrow. As far as fan perspective, all the workouts and stuff will start on Thursday. That's when we'll be able to digest that stuff on TV, check out the workouts and things like that, and see what kind of things these kids are capable of in that combine atmosphere. And but the hidden thing about the combine that a lot of people don't know is that's where a lot of these trade deals sometimes can come into place as well. These different personnel regimes and head coaching regimes get there, and they get to talking about their directions and things like that. And sometimes these little deals get their initial framework of deals to get done during those combine workouts, which leads into quick triggers being pulled, or what appears to be quick triggers being pulled in trades once free agency becomes official a couple weeks later in the mid-March. So it'll be interesting to see, right? With rumors start coming out of that and all that type of thing. So that's about it, Calvin. I hope that helped give you some idea, or at least lay a bit of a wider blueprint of the types of things the Steelers could be looking at as they get into free agency. Certainly, I know I'm eager to see what they do, because obviously what they do in free agency is going to give us some hint as to how they're then going to approach the draft, right? And so, we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking out the video. I hope you liked it. Anybody who hasn't already, please do subscribe to the channel. This is going to get better and better as I get better and better at it, and that will certainly be happening. We got a lot of things coming down the pipe, starting with the Combine next week. So I will see you guys in a few days once the Combine workouts begin, and we can talk about some things we see there. All right, thanks a lot. Catch you later.